Hi guys. I'm sure by now, since the release of Kashmir Files, all of you have researched on the 7 exoduses of Kashmiri Hindus from Kashmir. But I just want to make my own video on it too, just so that the conversation never dies down, so that it's never forgotten, and so that the algorithms themselves in some way keep this conversation alive, and that everyone in the world remembers and at least comes to know that such things happened. So here's a little background on that, and then I'll come to the exact exoduses and the causes behind them. So Kashmir is unique, at least in one respect. This is one geography within the Indian subcontinent that has a recorded history that fits the norms of Western historiography. Kalhana's Raj Tarangini is a classic in its own right. It records the history of Kashmir over several centuries. Even though Kalhana starts the history of Kashmir from the time of Gonanda I in about the 7th century of the Kali era, that is in 3102 BCE, which means BC, before Christ, 3000 years before Christ. Its correct chronology is established during the times of the Kolkata dynasty. Its most illustrious king, Lalitaditya Muktapira, who ruled from 697 to 730 CE, Common Era, which we used to know in our school as AD. It's now called Common Era, and is reputed to have extended the Kolkata Empire from the edge of the Caspian Sea to Pragjyotisha, also known as Assam, in the east, and the boundary of the Rashtrakutas in the south. That was the extent of his empire. The reign of the Kolkata, Utpala and Lohara dynasties were marked by great renaissance in the fields of art, literature, science, maths, spirituality and logic, and all-round material development. The greatest polymath, Abhinav Gupta, shines as the brightest gem of Kashmir, having lived there in the 10th and 11th centuries. He is also credited with having taken the practice of Kashmir Shaivism to its peak. He was also a great scholar in many other fields. The Utpala and Lohara dynasties succeeded the Kolkatas and had a clear run till 1315 CE. The period between 1315 to 1339 CE is a period of strife, marked by changing kings and much instability. Suhadeva, the last stable king of the Lohara dynasty, ruled till 1320 CE. He too made the mistake that many kings have made throughout the history of India. He gave shelter and position to Shah Mir from Swat Valley, and some other versions dispute this origin. So he gave shelter to Shah Mir of the Swat Valley and to the Chaks from Dardistan near Gilgit, and to Bulbul Shah and Rinchan from Ladakh. After a Turkish invasion in 1320 and the death of Suhadeva, Kashmir Valley fell into confusion. Scheming aliens brought the valley to its knees. Queen Kota Rani, the widow of Suhadeva's brother, Udayana Deva, offered resistance for a while. There are conflicting accounts about her end. The popular version among Kashmiri Pandits themselves is that Queen Kota Rani, she married Shamir and died on the wedding night. Whether she was treacherously killed by Shamir or committed suicide is disputed. Then Shamir took the throne in 1339 CE. He took the name Shamsuddin. In the reign of Kutubuddin, the Kubraya Sufi, Sayyid Ali Shah Hamadan, or also known as Shah Hamadan, came to the valley and pursued the Islamization project in right earnest. He got the later sultans to enforce the famous code of Shah Hamadan on the lines prescribed by the second Sunni Caliph Umar, the Pact of Umar or Zimma. It may be educative to read the code that he deployed in Kashmir. So the rules of the code were: the Muslim ruler shall not allow fresh constructions of Hindu temples and shrines. No more Hindu temples will be constructed. The king cannot allow it. No repairs to the existing Hindu temples and shrines shall be allowed. Hindus shall not use Muslim names. The Hindus shall not ride a harnessed horse. The Hindus shall not move about with arms. De-arming the Hindu population is always the best thing for invaders. The Hindus shall not wear rings with diamonds. The Hindus shall not deal in or eat bacon. The Hindus shall not exhibit idolatrous images, of course. The Hindus shall not build houses in neighborhoods of Muslims. So they want to make the entire kingdom a Muslim mahalla. They shall not dispose of their dead near Muslim graveyards, nor weep nor wail over their dead. They are not even allowed to cry for the passing away of their relatives. They shall not deal in or buy Muslim slaves. No Muslim traveller shall be refused lodging in the Hindu temples and shrines, where he shall be treated as a guest for 3 days by non-Muslims. No non-Muslim shall act as a spy in the Muslim state. No problem shall be created for those non-Muslims who on their own will show their readiness for Islam. Non-Muslims shall honor Muslims and shall leave their assembly whenever the Muslims enter the premises. The dress of non-Muslims shall be different from that of Muslims to distinguish themselves. Try and find similarities with Hitler's code for Jews. The worst was to come when Sultan Sikandar Shah, who ruled from 1389 to 1413 CE, known famously as Sikandar Butshikan. Butshikan means destroyer of idols. But means idols. And he teamed up with Muhammad Hamdan, the son of Shah Hamdan, to let loose a reign of Islamic State of Iraq and Syria ISIS-like terror. Hindu temples were demolished and built over with mosques all over the valley. Forcible conversions, loot, plunder, rapes, and every form of atrocity was inflicted. Thus began the first exodus of Kashmiris. The reign of Zainul Abidin, who ruled from 1420 to 1471 CE, was relatively moderate. He is said to have abolished jizya, stopped cow slaughter, and allowed restoration and rebuilding of temples. The Chaks managed to get the reins of power during the reign of Fateh Shah II, and he came under the influence of the Nurbakshi Shia Sufi Shamsuddin Araki, who restarted the vile practices of oppressing the Hindus. The second exodus of Kashmiri Hindus occurred in this period. The Shamiri dynasty disintegrated by 1561 CE. It was finally taken over by Akbar in 1585 CE, who inaugurated another period of relative moderation. Jahangir was particularly fond of Kashmir and spent many summers in the cool climates of the valley. Jahangir and Shah Jahan partially reversed the policy of toleration practiced by Akbar. Noor Jahan, she ordered the steps of the Shankaracharya temple to be destroyed and to be used. Shankaracharya temple in Jhilam, she ordered that to be dismantled and used the bricks from that temple in building the Pathar Mosque in downtown Srinagar. Jahangir's notorious lieutenant Sardar Itquad Khan particularly revelled in converting Hindus at gunpoint. This is an excerpt from the Paradise. This line is an excerpt from the Paradise Lost book by Professor K.L. Bhan. Now, Aurangzeb and his notorious governor Iftikhar Khan resumed the reign of terror inflicted on the Kashmiri Hindus earlier in the times of Sikandar and Mir Muhammad Hamdani and Fateh Shah Shamsuddin Araki. This inaugurated the third exodus of Kashmiri Hindus. In 1753, the Kashmir Valley passed into the hands of the Duranis of Afghanistan. They were as cruel as Aurangzeb. The fourth exodus of Hindus took place in this period. In 1819, the Kashmir region passed into the hands of Sikhs. After the death of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, the conquering British sold the region to the Dogra king, Gulab Singh. The original Kashmiri culture flourished once again. It may be noted that during the Sikh and Dogra rule, the majority Muslims of the valley did not suffer from any disability or discrimination on account of religion. This peace lasted till 1931. The 5th, 6th and the 7th exoduses of Hindus from the Kashmir Valley occurred in 1931, 1950 to 1980 and 1989 to 1990, and there's one going on right now. These are the results of the politics and the failed politics of the government of the day.